Hello everyone, and welcome to this second video in our series on how to listen to music deliberately and try to describe what we are hearing. In music, there is often lots of different things going on at once, and it can be hard to describe what we are hearing. In this video, first of all, I'm going to recap the musical elements, which are the building blocks of music, the individual parts that music can be broken down into. There are quite a lot to remember, 9, so we use the mnemonic MAD t-shirt to remember them all. You can see these listed on the screen. After recapping, I'll talk about the 2 that we are going to focus on today. Melody means tune, so the organisation of the pitches, the high notes and the low notes. Articulation means how the notes are sung or played. Listen to how the notes are really short and detached to start with, and the second half, the notes move smoothly from one to the other. Dynamics means volume, so how loud or soft the notes are played. Listen to how the music starts very quietly and then becomes much louder at the end. Texture is the different layers, so how many notes are played together. See how this example starts with 2 notes being played and then the texture thickens, where at the end there are 5 notes played at the same time. Structure is what order the music is put in. In this example, there is a second melody which answers the original one that we've heard previously. Harmony means which chords are used and how they are played. In this example, you can hear some broken major chords being played underneath the melody. Instrumentation is which instruments play the music. The melody is now being played by a different instrument, the trumpet. Rhythm is how long and short the notes are, and what patterns they can be put in. And finally, time and tempo. Time is how you count the music, and tempo is how fast that count is. Okay, so let's put some of these concepts into practice. We are going to listen to a song called Cry Me a River, performed by Michael Bublé. Except we are going to listen deliberately and try to describe what we are hearing. On the screen, there is a grid that we are going to follow as we listen. Along the left-hand side of the instruments, on the right is what musical material they are playing, so chords, the melody, a bass line, and so on. Along the top is what each section of the song is being played, and along the bottom is the time. Each box is 4 bars long. However, this week we are counting in a different time. Instead of 4 beats in each bar, this week we'll be counting 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each box is 4 lots of 6 counts.
Now you say you're lonely. You cry the whole night through. Well, you can cry me a river. Cry me a river. I cried a river over you.
There was a lot going on there. So many musical elements being used in lots of different ways. Today, we are going to focus on a different two. The first is dynamics. Dynamics is how loud or soft notes are played, so the volume basically. We describe dynamics using the words on the right hand side of the screen. We have piano for quiet and forte for loud. But wait a minute. Isn't piano the name of an instrument? Well, yes, it is. Piano means quiet or soft in Italian, and forte means loud. So the full name for this instrument is the pianoforte, which means soft loud. It was named this way because it was able to play both soft and loud. Okay, so let's listen to the piece deliberately again and see if we can describe the dynamics. Right, well I can hear that it definitely ends fortissimo, that means very loud, however it doesn't start like that. I would say that it started fairly loud, or mezzo forte. Also, it doesn't suddenly go from fairly loud to very loud, it happens gradually during the whole introduction. When music gets gradually louder, we call it a crescendo. It is represented by a hairpin that looks like this. So, the dynamics change during the introduction, but does anything else? Can you tell just by looking? Well, I can hear you saying more instruments are added, and you'd be right, but we're not looking at instrumentation today. We are going to look at texture. Texture is the different musical layers and how they interact with each other. In a very simple way, you describe texture as thick or thin, depending on how many layers of music are happening at the same time. Just like a piece of toast is a thin layer compared to a double-decker sandwich which has lots of layers. In this piece we can see that the texture gets thicker during the introduction as more layers are added. There are lots of words that we can use to describe different types of texture. Let's use some of them to describe what's happening in this song. First of all, I'm going to say that drums don't really count when it comes to texture, as they don't have pitch, high or low sounds. They only have rhythm. And whilst they do provide a layer, we're not going to look at that today. So we're going to forget about them for a minute. Let's look at the first 4 bars. We have the string and the brass sections playing a melodic ostinato. Then, in the next 4 bars, the horns play a counter melody over the top. So the texture has changed from 1 musical layer to 2. Let's look at this first layer a little bit closer to see how we would describe it. Now, whilst there are lots of instruments playing in this layer, it is actually monophonic because they are all playing one melodic line, the same one. Monophonic means one sound, or in the case of music, it means one musical layer. Some are playing this musical line higher and some are playing it lower, but they are all playing the same notes. Like when you sing Happy Birthday, some people will sing in a lower octave, some in a higher one, but you are all singing the same melody.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
As soon as the horns enter, they are playing something different. Therefore, there are 2 melodies playing at the same time. The texture is no longer monophonic. It has become polyphonic. Polyphonic means many sounds, or in the case of music, different melodies playing at the same time. This makes the texture sound much thicker because there is more than one layer happening at the same time. After the introduction, the texture changes again. Have a listen.
Now you say you're lonely. You cry the whole night through. Well, you can cry me a river, cry me a river. I cried a river over you.
After the introduction, there is a verse and the texture changes. Whilst it still has 2 layers, because of the way they interact, it is not polyphonic. There is a melody being sung by Michael Bublé, whilst the strings are playing chords. A texture that is based on chords, often with a melody on top, is called homophonic. This means same sound. So, as the piece progresses, the texture changes. Not only does it go from thin to thick, and then becomes a bit thinner in the verse, it starts with one melodic layer, monophony. Then there are 2 fighting for our attention. This is polyphony. And finally, there is a melody accompanied by chords, homophony.
Now you say you're lonely,